From The Selfish Path to Romance, download Chapter 1 for free at drkenner.com.
Yesterday, I took the high-speed Acela Express train from Providence into New York City, and I had a fabulous time. When I got off the train at night, I came back to Rhode Island, got off the train at night. I needed to buy a ticket for this coming Monday. I'm going into Connecticut, and you better believe I'm going by train. There was a striking woman in the line in front of me. She was wearing this long, silky black dress that had some see-through spots around her waist. She was striking. I mean, you just don't expect to walk into a train terminal, stand in line. You expect to have people with their suitcases or people to look a little tired, but not to see a gorgeous woman dressed with diamond earrings and gorgeous hair. You can think Angela Jolie. And she's right in front of me, so I asked her, what's the occasion? She said that she and her boyfriend, she pointed to him, he was wearing a Scottish kilt outfit, we're heading to the opera in Boston. And she said, we've never been to the opera, and we thought this would be a wonderful date, and I wanted to dress up for it. And it was a strapless gown. She was just very beautiful. So as she's standing in line in front of me, she's next in line, her boyfriend comes to her and says, I got the tickets, with his British accent, from the automated machine. So they get out of the line. I got in, so I was the next one in line. I started to make my purchase, and he returned beet red. He looked just as red as the red in his kilts. He came up, he was really understandably angry. The ticket that they had just purchased about 6 o'clock at night to get to a 7:30 opera in Boston, the ticket for the train they had purchased had already left the station. So they're going to miss the opera. So she was so disappointed, and she's monitoring his mood too. And this is a mini crisis situation. I mean, it's not a big crisis, but in a personal life, it's a mini crisis, and we have tons of these. So you can picture the couple now going back to her apartment. She gets out of this lovely outfit with her perfume on and her hair that's all done up. It looked like she had been to a salon during the day. You can picture her getting back into jeans and feeling really let down and frustrating. Him getting out of his kilt, putting on the jeans, and blaming each other for not having enough time. I told you to come home early from work. Why didn't you plan ahead? You never do it. Well, it was your stupid idea to go to the opera. And on and on and on. They have a lousy night. That's not what happened. We stopped my transaction immediately. I was in no hurry. And the woman at the counter was incredibly good with them. She wasn't gushy. She was factual. She gave them the information they needed. She immediately refunded their ticket, gave them another train. He calmed down. And then he even laughed. I looked at him and I said, you are much more likely to remember the way you handle this situation with each other than the fact that you might show up a few minutes late for the opera or even miss the opera. So if they handle it well, if they don't stress out, and if they love each other during these mini crises, then instead of beating up on each other, instead of making unnecessary rough moments in their life, they will have memories that will be worth more than the lovely night at the opera that they didn't spoil. So think of how you handle those mini crises in your life. Or I want you to do something else for a moment. Think back to how your mom and dad handled mini crises. You're late. You have to get going. You've got a football game to go to, or you've got some event to go to at school, or dad's got some meeting to go to, and you all have to rush into the car. How do you handle those moments? If your parents handle them poorly, if they lost control, if they blamed each other, if they take it out on you, if they take it out on themselves, oh, I'm such a stupid idiot, I'm such a jerk, or if they beat up on some innocent bystander, I'll bet you have a storehouse of painful memories. But if they handled it well, if mom and dad handle those mini crises well, you will love them even more. I'm Dr. Ellen Kenner. I'm a clinical psychologist, and my show is The Rational Basis of Happiness. That means your happiness matters. And this is an opportunity for you to pick up the phones right now, call in with your question on anything from parenting to love to not liking the opera. Doesn't matter. To having problems with relatives or friends who take advantage of you. Maybe you're real stressed out. Maybe you have an anxiety problem or problems with depression, or you can't get going in life. So there's lots we can talk about. Your phone calls take priority. We have a lot on the agenda, but again, you do take priority. My number is toll-free 1-877 Dr. Kenner. Write that down. Toll free 1-877 Dr. Kenner. DrKenner. And my website is drkenner.com. Now, what if your husband pressures you into sex? But that's not all. He tells jokes at your expense. He blames you for anything that goes wrong in your lives together. He won't hold your hand. He won't walk beside you when you go out. Do you love him? That's easy. No. So you might think, what do? You leave him. You divorce him. But one woman who's been in this abusive relationship, not for a few months. This is not a newlywed. She's been in it for 23 years, and she has 6 kids here. She doesn't know what to do. 3 of her kids are still at home. She feels very stuck. So think about what you would advise her, and I'll answer her question later in the show. And what would happen to you during a major disaster like a bad storm, a crash, an automobile accident, a disease outbreak? You know, there's some trauma and loss that's unavoidable for all of us. But if you've prepared yourself mentally and physically for some emergencies, you can cope better. You can rebound much faster. And if you're fortunate enough to have the assistance of a trauma and crisis expert, such as Dr. James Campbell, you may find that you cope even better or possibly grow stronger, even while managing significant losses. Later in the show, Dr. Campbell and I will discuss how to deal with a traumatic event and factors that affect how people react in a crisis. And right now I'm going to turn to our lines, and we don't have enough time right now. Okay, then we won't go to the lines right now. But let me give my number again so you can call in, and right after the break we will go to the lines and we will take an after hours call. I'll tell you in advance what that after hours call is about. It's about a woman whose grandson, 5-year-old grandson, was taught, and the question is by whom, to kiss other boys, his playmates at school. And the grandmother is stressing about this. So think about what questions that brings to your mind, and that's one of the many topics that we will talk about coming up in the show. Also, one woman writes, what is happiness and why is it so important? Well, that's the whole theme of my show, happiness, the rational basis of happiness. Happiness is by whim, doing anything you want to do in the moment is not good. But long-range considered happiness, planning your personal life your way with your goals, and it's reasonable with friends and family and people that you enjoy in your life. Achieving your goals in career and your hobby is fabulous. I'm Dr. Ellen Kenner. Will be back after these words.
Here's an excerpt from The Selfish Path to Romance, the Serious Romance Guidebook by clinical psychologist Dr. Ellen Kenner and co-author Dr. Edwin Locke.
Some seemingly innocuous habits can be a real source of annoyance to a partner, such as leaving the toilet seat up, ignoring crumbs on the floor, throwing dirty clothes about, or driving recklessly. Both partners have to decide how dangerous or important negative habits are, and they should make a serious effort to change those that are a real source of friction. Bad habits can be changed more easily than bad personality traits such as impoliteness or tactlessness, because although habits function automatically, they are more limited in scope than traits. Changing habits, however, still requires a deliberate, conscious focus.
You can download Chapter 1 for free by going to drkenner.com, and you can buy The Selfish Path to Romance at amazon.com.